Hello, everyone. I'm Cara Clark from Rhema Word Productions. And during our series of You Can't Make This Up, you've heard some phenomenal stories of inspiration and encouragement. Now, in our last segment, we talked about a young man, Jaden Robinson, who came through COVID and is now in his second year of college. We are so excited for what's happening in his life. Now, tonight, we're going to talk to a young lady who's going to share with us how the culture and environment that she was in at the time changed her life and her response to it. She's also, get this, our National Black Featured Person of the Month. Let's hear her story.
I went to college in Hastings, Nebraska. I was studying music at the time, and I loved Cornhusker football, and so it just made sense for me to go to school there. I went to school there for 2 years. The first year was awesome, and the second year was rough. I dealt with a lot of terrible racial things that happened at that school. For a time there, I was in Greek life, and I got into what is it called? I got into student government, and I was in a lot of places, and it's a really small Presbyterian school. But when I was showing up more, and there's maybe 12 Black kids that went to that school, most of them played a sport. And I did band and dance when I was there, but I was receiving a lot of hate mail. I was receiving a lot of you shouldn't be here anymore. We don't like your kind around here type of situation. Wow. And it got really, really bad. And I was assaulted at a party when I was there as well. And so I had some friends who had to, come pick me up, and the police got involved a little bit. And then I just decided it was just not the best place for me to be. So I came back to Colorado. I went to kind of some different schools here and landed at a school in the city and studied information systems. So I studied technology and operations. I then went to work in corporate pretty early on. I worked at a school, and then I went to work for Kaiser Permanente for a while and did a lot of tech and project management work there.
Wow.
Yeah.
Information systems. So how did you get to information systems? What was it about that field that drew you in?
Yeah, I'm definitely a math and science brain. So it's really not too different from starting to, wanting to do music and be a band teacher and kind of working in that language to working with computers. I learned that I didn't necessarily want to code or do much of that, but more wanted to understand better so I could lead my teams better. And that led me to kind of project management and operations, which has now led me to my business.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So tell us, what purpose you to change what you were doing? So
yeah, I fell into some opportunities with some startups here in Denver. I worked with a few different people, and I learned that in that time that I just wasn't growing at Kaiser. I would have, what I'm doing now would have probably taken me another 5-10 years to be able to manage the systems and platforms and businesses that I really wanted to manage at an operations level. And I wasn't really of service. And that's really important to me, that I'm working out of service and helping people, and big dreamers and creatives achieve what they want, but maybe they don't necessarily know the best systems and marketing and those things to get there. And so I had some opportunities to work with some startups on the side. One of them was a little rough, and I was like, I can do this so much better. So Lord, find a way to help me do this better. And so I made a plan that I'm going to start my own business. I'm going to give it 6 weeks to make a plan, send it to all of my people to, give me their, stamp of approval. Let me pray about it for 6 weeks. I asked the Lord, on this day in 6 weeks, you let me know, if this is what I need to be doing. And I got the yes. And then along the way, it was all right, here are my savings goals and things that I want to reach before I quit corporate. And that happened. And then I was all right, well, the Lord ain't playing. So I guess I better Do what he said. So yeah.
Awesome. So, how has having your own business as an African American woman differed from
Yeah.
working for someone else?
Yeah, absolutely. So it definitely has been different. There's been a few, I don't know, sticky situations. One of them was I had a client that I was working with, last summer, that didn't stand up or have an opinion with all the things that were going on last summer and Black Lives Matter and things that I felt were really core values that I needed someone who I work with to say something, to be
Mhm.
about it, to do something. Not that they have to, go march with the rest of us, but at least position themselves in some type of category. So I needed to exit myself out. And so that part has, just learning what my values are, who I want to work with, and the type of work I want to do. The other thing that's been interesting is dealing with the fact that some people um, maybe pair being a Black owned business with being cheap, or that our rates are outrageous or something like that, or asking for discounts because it's a Black owned business or it's a woman, Black owned business. And so really learning to stick to my guns and say the price is the price. And if I'm not best for you, no worries, I'll find someone else for you, or go look somewhere else. So learning kind of like my own boundaries and values and like really sticking to that has been interesting.
Awesome. And so, what kind of challenges have you faced, especially in the wake of COVID-19?
Yeah, COVID built my business. I started my business February of 2020. And so everyone was making, pivots and shifts and changing their business. And so I started my business at a perfect time where everyone needed someone like me who works in operations, who's project manager, who can come in and assess your business and tell you what systems you need or what you don't need, or how we can save money, or goals that you have, for the future, and how we can best reach them. And so, I really started my business at a really great time where everyone was needing someone like me. And so I wasn't, thank the Lord, wasn't affected. I'd actually say that COVID or the pandemic like really built my business.
That's absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And it's just so encouraging to hear how, you just kind of went with God. God directed you, He
Mm.
led you, and then opened up the door, and you weren't impacted. In fact, you grew. That's a
Yes.
testimony. That is
Yes.
so huge. And so, for our audience tonight, what words can you give them that could possibly inspire or encourage them, especially if they're kind of teetering on, should I do this or should I not?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I would, especially if you're thinking of starting a business, I would make a plan. I would get through something, strategically and plan, like, I have this amazing idea to start a jewelry line, or maybe I want to sell some t-shirts, or maybe I want to go into consulting for, whatever it is, to really sit and create a really solid plan for what you want to do and what that looks like. That's something that I'm really passionate and I love doing. And so I do these kind of one-day sessions where we can take your idea and really plan it and really create something. And then also another thing that we're working on is really building a course, kind of like a mini MBA. So it's kind of with the idea that, like, so you want to start a business, let's talk about marketing and systems that you may need to look into, or your product, or how to position yourself in the market that's best for you. And so creating something that will allow for that in creating strategy.
Awesome,
Yeah.
awesome, awesome. You know what? I am so encouraged. I am so inspired because you know what? It just, sometimes when I think about the pandemic, I think about in 2019, people were stagnant. They were
Yeah.
afraid to launch out. And
Right.
so just to hear how God just came in and swooped in and took you and
Yeah.
carried you through and into your passion, into your
Right.
assignment, that's absolutely awesome.
Yeah, I kind of had no choice. You know, it was like it's one of those like, Lord, I'm praying. And he's like, here you go. And I'm like, oh, like right now though? Like, oh, you mean now? Okay, yes, sir. Like, and get up and get going. Like it would have been foolish for me, you know, not to have stepped in what I prayed for and what he had clearly given me. One of the things that I would tell people is really to build a plan and strategy and pray about it. If you are wanting to, you know, start a business or have an idea for something, really mapping out what that looks like for you. I definitely have services and love doing like all day strategic like planning. So if you have an idea incubator, let's talk about it. Let's see where you can position yourself within the market for that, you know, specific idea, but creating a plan, putting it to paper and praying on it, giving a very specific time, very specific savings goals or money goals before you maybe quit your full-time job and getting that planned out, because this is, you know, it is hit and miss and there are slow months. And so if you can plan for that as much as possible, then you'll be golden. So that's definitely what I'd suggest.
Now, this is something you really can't make up. Truly, truly, truly amazing despite the obstacles she faced. And guess what? Her clientele still continues to rise. Let me tell you what's coming up next. We're going to hear the stories of two young men. One who spent the last 3 years of his life reconstructing and giving back. And then we'll end our series this year in September with the story about our executive director, Mr. Ken Wiggins, and some of the health challenges he's had to overcome. So keep it right here. Stay tuned to Rhema Word Productions and have a great evening. And remember, you can't make this up.